Yeah, so I'm going to introduce a bit more around this idea of how we can change our minds so that we wish ourselves genuinely well and then we behave to ourselves as though we really do care about ourselves and we want the best for ourselves. Because I must say, I really enjoyed Jinapalati's introduction because I felt like he was really drawing out how this quality of well-wishing, um, it is just natural to being human. We all have like a natural caring response to other people, other creatures. But there seems to be something about this Western culture where very often people behave in harsh ways to themselves that they would never dream of behaving to their friends or their colleagues or whatever it is. And actually that just influences our lives in all sorts of ways if we have a difficult relationship with ourselves. Uh, and just to say, like, this can look kind of different according to who you are. So, for some of us, it may be obvious that we have a critical inner voice that's always undermining us, or kind of saying, "Oh, well, you did that, but it wasn't good enough," or "You're not lovable," or whatever it might be. And sometimes those voices can be very harsh and painful. And it can really transform our experience in the world to be able to soften those voices. They might be happening, but actually we're not stuck with them. We can train our minds, we can change how we feel about ourselves. But a lack of... Now, I'm wanting to use this Buddhist word, which is metta. So this is a very, very specific Buddhist term meaning unconditional well-wishing, unconditional love. And the reason that I'm wanting to use this specific term metta is because it is unconditional. It doesn't matter whether you've done something right or wrong. It's still possible just to kind of like wish ourselves well. In the same way that, like, if you have a little child or a puppy, it's quite natural, like, you wish it well, whether or not it's just made a mess all over the floor or not. You still wish that child or that puppy well. We can have this same approach to ourselves. So coming back to how a lack of metta or unconditional kindness can show up towards ourselves. So it can show up as, this very obvious, harsh, critical voice, or we just feel rubbish about ourselves. But it can also show up as, I suppose, our relationship with ourselves is conditional. So we are okay if. So it might be, we are okay if we can run 10 miles in a certain speed. We are okay as long as we are in a sexual relationship. We are okay as long as our hair looks right and we're wearing the right clothes and we kind of look like a celeb magazine. We're okay if we're like that, and if not, we're not okay. It might be, we're okay as long as we get this educational qualification, or we get the promotion at work, or we're earning a certain amount of money, or we've got a nice car, or whatever it might be. So there's all these different ways where we've got a bargaining or conditional response with how we relate to ourselves. I am only okay as long as. And if I'm not those things, if I don't know, lose the job or the car or the partner or the way I look or whatever it is, actually suddenly we're not okay. We're not an okay person. So I think it's great to work out what self-metta isn't. So it's not self-esteem. So self-esteem is I do this thing and therefore I feel good about myself. So self-metta, we could be having like the worst year ever, look terrible, be in a puddle on the floor, having lost our jobs and crashed all our relationships, and it would still be possible to be kind to ourselves and feel like, oh, actually, yeah, this has been a really difficult year for me. And you still have a positive relationship with yourself. You still wish yourself well, no matter how pear-shaped everything around you is going. Even if it's completely your fault, it doesn't matter. It's just like, oh, and I still wish myself well. So self-metta is not self-esteem. What else have we got that it's not? It's not soft, soppy, and sentimental. Okay, so I think when I first came along to meditation and that, I don't know, maybe I sort of had a Care Bears idea about how, what metta would be, where it's just like, oh, there, it's all going to be all right, actually, transforming our views and our relationship to ourselves is probably one of the most challenging and toughest things that we can do. And coming on to the third thing that metta is not, it is not selfish to work on your relationship with yourself. I probably also thought that quite strongly. I'm just obsessing about me, and what I should really be doing is like going out there and rescuing other people. Actually, if we can transform our relationship with ourselves so that we're not dependent on what comes from outside to feel okay about ourselves, what this means is that actually we'll have a much more straightforward relationship with people in our lives, because we won't always be looking to them to mean that we are okay, and continually thinking, well, am I okay because they seem to like me? Am I okay because my partner loves me? Am I okay because my colleagues respect me at work? If we're able to have an unconditional affirmation of ourselves, this really transforms our relationship with others, and usually in a way where we're better able to respond. We're not taking things personally in the same way, and we're much better resourced to be able to give to others. It is crucial, particularly if you're someone, maybe a mother or in a profession where you have to give a lot. It is really crucial to be able to it's crucial to be able to give to yourself as well. Otherwise, at some point, it'll all go pear-shaped. Yeah. So, not self-esteem. It's not like bargaining. We're okay if. It's not soft, soppy, and sentimental. It's actually really tricky. And it's not selfish. It's actually the best gift that you could give to other people in your life, to work on your relationship with yourself. Then, well, what is it? So it's not these things. Well, what is self-metta? So perhaps the first quality is a sense of befriending ourselves and befriending our minds. Quite often it's easy to kind of sit alongside a friend and think, oh, well, yes, obviously I wish you well. I'd want you to grow in your life. I'd want you to feel fulfilled. I'd want you to experience happiness and joy. It's very, very obvious to want that for a good friend. So we're befriending ourselves. It's like we're becoming our own best friend. And there's a sense of acceptance here. There's a sense of acceptance of, well, whatever comes up in our lives or in our minds, we can make the biggest failures in our lives we like, or we can have the most difficult emotions coming up, maybe envy or jealousy or rage or, whatever it might be. It's like, oh, God, this is a human emotion. Everyone has these emotions. That's uncomfortable. Actually, this isn't an enjoyable emotion that's taking me to good places. I'd like to be free of it, but actually, what a painful emotion. We're able to hold and be present to whatever our minds present. A lot of the time in our lives, we think the problem is what the world is presenting to us. We've got lockdown and a pandemic. Who wants that? And in a way, well, yes, there is an external situation, but often the painfulness and suffering in our lives comes from what our minds do with that experience. So if we can manage to give ourselves empathy and acceptance for, whatever emotions do arise, it can really change our experience, no matter what our external circumstances. Developing metta, self-metta, it's an orientation, it's an intention that we're strengthening, rather than a particular fluffy experience that we're trying to have. So we might have an idea of like self-compassion as like, just be this like sort of oceanic feeling of love and acceptance for ourselves. And actually, that can happen. But it's more that we're consistently acting out an intention, which is actually, I intend to wish myself well. I would like to change that relationship with myself. I aspire to be kind to myself. And we just keep on turning back again and again and again to that intention. So it's good to work out what intention is yours, because it's like you need your own intention. So it might be, I want to be free. Or it might be, I just want to feel relaxed and at ease with myself. Or it might be, I want to relate to myself and the world with love. What I'm trying to get at is you need to find words or phrases that express what direction you want your mind to take, and then that's the intention that you keep on coming back to. So maybe that critical inner voice starts up, or oh, I didn't do that very well, or that was a bit rubbish, and then it's like, oh, hello, that voice. Actually, what do I really want for myself? I'd like to be free. I'd like to be at peace, have a sense of peace. You're not trying to make the critical voice go away. You're just saying, well, actually, I don't want to go in that direction. There's this other direction that I want to go in. So this is something we can do both in meditation and also in our daily lives. So if you find a phrase that you resonate with and you think, this is where I want to go, write it down, put copies in your pocket, put it in your bag, and just a few times a day, just sort of come back to that intention and kind of go, this is the direction I want my life to be going in. And there are these two qualities that we need to balance. So one is this quality of acceptance, like, really painful envy has just arisen in my experience, like, ow, that really hurts. And we're not trying to make it go away. We're not trying to sort of like force our mind to be different, or kind of like force ourselves into a kind of smiling emoticon. We've got to keep it real and just go, oh, look, yeah, this is what's happening right now. Is this pleasant or is this unpleasant? And then offer ourselves empathy. So we've got this quality of acceptance. Whatever comes up, yeah, well, that's what's happening right now. And at the same time, we've got this intention of the direction we want to go. And then this affects what choices we make. So maybe we might be feeling envy, but then we'd think, well, what direction do I want my life to go? Do I want to go and have a rant about how fortunate this other person is and how they don't deserve it to somebody at work? Well, actually, that will just make our envy grow. Or do I want to sit all by myself feeling lonely and kind of like going over and over and over stories about how they've got things and I haven't? That will make that envy grow. But if we bring awareness to that and kind of go, oh, envy, that's painful. But what do I want to grow in my life? It's like you acknowledge it, but then you think, I don't want to rehearse that envy story again and again, either by myself or, enlisting the support of other people. Like, maybe I don't want to do that. Because every action that we take, including things we think again and again, that is creating habits in our mind. Every time we think something, it creates a groove, and every time we think it again, it deepens that groove. So as we bring awareness to our mind, we can also make conscious choices. What do I want to rehearse? Do I want to rehearse this envy story or this anger story? Or actually, do I want to rehearse empathy with the suffering in that? Do I want to rehearse, actually, I'd like to be at ease. That's my intention. And every time we come back to a positive intention, come back to awareness, that's creating a groove, that's creating a habit in our minds, which means that, the next day or the next week or the next month, actually it's more likely that, the envy or the anger or whatever will arise, but actually something else will arise too, like, oh, actually, yeah, that's painful when that happens. And I'd like to be at ease. I'd like a mind at peace. Those things become, they start arising spontaneously alongside the others. So really what we're looking for is a change in our relationship with our experience, where instead of like an emotion or a story just pops up and we just kind of roll with it, and like, an hour later we realise that's all we've been thinking about, we're bringing awareness and we're kind of going, oh, this experience has arisen. What choice do I want to make now? So there's two key qualities that are really important for any form of meditation. And meditation, that is just a way of working directly to change our minds. And those two qualities are kindness and awareness. And you'll see they'll be arising in all the meditations that we're doing. Okay, so basically it's like there's lots of different ways, both in and out of meditation, that we can explore. Well, okay, how, I've gone through like, what is it we're trying to do? Marvelous idea. How are we going to do it? Because it's always easier to, you hear this great idea. Oh yeah, unconditional self-love. That would be a great plan. And then it's like, right, how do I actually get there? Which is a different kettle of fish. The key thing is to just keep on trying. It's like these things don't happen overnight. So it's like just 10 minutes a day, or just like remembering 3 or 4 times a day. This changes our minds. And over the course of the next 3 Saturday mornings, really body-based approach where it's just like breathing with kindness, being present to our experience, this will really, really work. For other people, it may be much more about learning to speak to ourselves kindly and then noticing that. Oh, how does it feel when I speak kindly to myself? For others, it may be using the imagination. We'll look at some things we could do around that. But what I'm pointing out is like we're going to lead you through a range of different approaches, and what you're doing is you're noticing, oh yeah, that really works for me, or oh yeah, that one's not so, I'm not so keen on that one. And then you end up with a toolbox of ways to work with your mind. That's the idea. Okay.